Attention motorists traveling on 95. To a multi-tractor trailer accident.
For many, this is a typical morning on the southwestern Connecticut highway system. Ask drivers to describe their commute in one word, and this is the response you get.
Brutal.
Terrible. It's unpredictable.
If you have a car, you feel pain.
Basically, there's traffic every single day, and it's intolerable.
The traffic is horrible, and I never get to work on time.
And it's definitely gotten worse.
Every weekday, nearly 1 million cars and trucks jam the main highways between New Haven and Greenwich, the heaviest loads occurring during commuting hours. So why do we choose to live and work here?
I like the community, and I can't afford to live in Stamford.
We moved to Wilton 16 years ago. We moved primarily because I was raising 2 young boys at the time. We wanted to get into that school system.
It's a better quality of life for my family, my kids and my husband, and we have a nice home here.
Life is good here. There are beautiful neighborhoods, fine schools and colleges, quaint town shopping centers, magnificent parks, lush wooded lands, sparkling waterways, and sandy shorefront beaches for recreation. And jobs, great jobs that lure folks here and keep them here. Sounds idyllic, doesn't it? Yet all of these advantages are being eroded by congested roadways.
Congestion is the Darien's #1 issue, and really the issue in the region.
It's hard to walk into an office and be prepared to do your regular work when you're still frustrated and stressed out from your experience of the previous hour or hour and a half that it's taken you.
It's frustrating to people because they recognize that it shouldn't be that way. If you're commuting 10 miles, it shouldn't take you an hour to do that.
Congestion robs residents of countless hours each day, leaving them less and less time to enjoy those very things they find best here. But congestion does much more than that. It creates danger on the roads.
The town of Westport is bordered by I-95 and the Merritt Parkway, and anytime there's an accident on either of those roads, our surface streets become incredibly congested and clogged, so that suddenly we find ourselves with a large number of vehicles going down roads where generally residents would expect to feel comfortable either riding bikes or taking walks, pushing strollers, etc. In addition, very often our emergency personnel are called to the scene, which creates difficulties in terms of providing adequate coverage to Westport and its citizens, and also can at times put our personnel at risk because they are working on highway conditions.
Congestion also disrupts the economy of a region.
When people can't get to the stores, they can't buy the goods. When the goods aren't sold, the store owners suffer.
There are more fundamental issues, though, that business sees in the longer term. With this kind of congestion, it means that housing that might be 20 minutes and 20 miles away in some other part of the country is 20 miles but 45 minutes or an hour away here.
Companies may be reluctant to come into this region because they perceive it's a difficult place to get to and to get out of.
One of the things that has emerged in recent years is that there's more competition for the same time of day. And it's called just-in-time freight delivery. The parts arrive the same day that they're going to be used, and then they're shipped out often the same night. Well, because the workforce is arriving for the workday, at the same time the parts are arriving, now we have trucks trying to be just in time when the workers are certainly trying to be just in time.
Congestion has the effect of increasing the cost of shipping. It has the effect of reducing the market reach that a business might have.
Congestion. It's easy to point to as the problem, easy to see. But these highways didn't become congested overnight. Something else led to this. Land use is that something else, and that problem has developed over nearly 2 centuries.
Land use has a great impact on traffic congestion. If you look at the state of Connecticut and its growth patterns over the last 20 years, many of the regions that have experienced high rates of job growth are not the same as the regions that have experienced high levels of population growth. So what we have in Connecticut right now is a transportation system that meets the needs of a growth pattern that's come and gone.
In the early 1800s, it took 39 hours by stage to get from Boston to New York. By the late 1830s, steam-driven locomotives began to appear in Connecticut, and by 1911, the New York, New Haven, and Hartford rail line was carrying more than 84 million passengers a year, and moving thousands of tons of freight every day. That year, Connecticut's railroads alone operated 2,600 passenger cars, more than Amtrak uses today to serve the entire United States. But trains were just one part of a complex transportation system in this southwestern Connecticut corridor. There were trolleys in New Haven, Bridgeport, Norwalk, and steamboats, luxury vessels plying the waters of Long Island Sound from Stonington to New York City. That system made the region a great place to live and do business. But something was about to change all of this, and change it radically. That something was the automobile. The auto would soon leave trains, steamboats, and trolleys in the dust. By mid-20th century, southwestern Connecticut was crisscrossed with major new roads paid for with tolls, a novel concept at the time. In fact, Connecticut was one of the first states in the country to levy such tolls. And the existence of these toll roads encouraged the state's population to scatter. From city neighborhoods, the highway system led folks out to suburbs and rural areas. Cars enabled us to go anywhere. They changed our way of life, and that change was dramatic. It came at great cost. Instead of living and working in the same community, most of us now commute to work. We even shop and go to school by car. Every weekday, about 150,000 vehicles pass through each of I-95's busiest points at New Haven, Bridgeport, and Stamford. Imagine an entire city emptying itself of every man, woman, and child every single day at each of these points, and you begin to understand the magnitude of the problem. We commute because we choose to use land in towns such as Branford and Milford, Trumbull and Easton, New Canaan and Darien for our homes, and land in cities such as New Haven, Bridgeport, and Stamford for our work sites. Such land use choices are at the heart of the congestion problems.
Right now there's an imbalance between the intensity of land use, where people live and drive, where they want to commute, and the facilities that are provided, whether they're rail or bus or highway facilities. There's more demand, and that demand is projected to increase dramatically in the future.
The issue is what's going to happen 10 years from now if the current growth rate continues. And if the current growth rate continues, we will be in gridlock, and therefore everyone's quality of life will be negatively affected because just too much of the day will be consumed by commuting and too much of the air will be polluted by exhaust.
The price of our choices is more than time and pollution. The price is taxes needed to build and maintain our transportation system. The price is increased danger to public safety. And the price is congestion. And even more money is needed to keep the system going. I-95 alone is handling twice its intended load. The state struggles to keep up with the demands of an aging highway infrastructure with bridge and road repair, and to find funds to invest in the infrastructure of public transportation as well. As a result, buses cover ever smaller routes less and less frequently and over shorter service hours. Trains are overcrowded. Stations lack parking. And connections with other public transportation are sparse or sporadic or both. All this makes in-state train commuting difficult.
The worst case is at night, coming back from New Haven or something to go up to Waterbury, it can take as much as 5 hours.
There's not a lot of parking, so people aren't probably using the train as much as they would if there was more parking.
Other forms of public transportation are greatly underused. Air service is limited at the region's 2 commercial airports. Passenger ferries ignore commuter potential at coastline harbors. Like commuters, shippers too have chosen roads rather than rails. Trains today handle only a minuscule fraction of the total freight traffic. And transporting freight from point to point by ship or barge remains dramatically underused. Rather than using these alternatives, today most freight moves by trucks, and trucks add greatly to corridor congestion and safety problems in southwestern Connecticut.
Highways can be considered to be a resource. and they're finite. You can't use more than you have. The users compete for it, whether it's a truck delivering merchandise or raw materials to a factory or to an end user, whether it's a person going to work, whether it's an ambulance going from an accident site to the hospital. The amount of space is fixed, and therefore we're competing for space.
There are solutions to this problem. Put freight on rail, put freight on barges, get more people off their cars and onto trains. That's going to take some resources, but it's also going to take a public will and a public understanding of the problem and the solutions.
The problems can be solved by a willing public. Vision 2020 is a study to find acceptable solutions, a plan that will mitigate congestion along the I-95 and Merritt Parkway corridors in southwestern Connecticut. Led by the Southwestern Regional Planning Agency and its consultant Wilbur Smith Associates, Vision 2020 will bring together persons living and working in 5 planning regions to study how land use will affect the transportation system for the next 20 years.
The Vision 2020 is to take a longer-term view, to say, where is land use taking us? Where is development taking us? How are we going to address the needs of business and industry within the state so that we can keep an economic vitality, so that we can keep a quality of life that will work for us and support us where we want to do. Vision 2020 will give us that direction.
We're doing telephone surveys, we're conducting focus groups to get input from people on how this problem should be addressed. And I think one of the differences in this study is the focus of it. We're looking at the commuter and the shipper as a customer, as a user of the transportation system.
Everything is being considered. Everything is being addressed. We want to consider not only the practical chance we have for success, but fundamentally what the people of Connecticut want us to do.
People should get involved in the study process if they're not satisfied with their current commute, or if they're a business if they're not satisfied with their ability to receive materials or ship.
My hope for the study is that we take a long-term view. Those of us that have been living with transportation challenges and problems understand that there is no quick fix, that we have to be able to project into the future our hopes and dreams for this entire region by taking a look at transportation solutions that in some cases will take a long time to implement, but that we will believe will ultimately provide for a better quality of life in this entire region and ensure its future economic success.
The Southwestern Regional Planning Agency invites your views and your suggestions. Get involved in your future. Contact us today.